Some freaky ass shit. Hello.
Alright, that's good enough. That's enough of that.
Okay, anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Or like some kind of creepy growling. Do a creepy growling. Yeah, like that.
Back to the story. What were you talking about again?
What is your favorite urban legend?
When we were kids, me and Cameron really wanted to go to the Bermuda Triangle. That was something that we always talked about and we were just so fascinated with. We would literally sit by the computer when we were like 14, 15 and just talk how we're going to get there and how we're going to get lost in this other time zone, warp zone, or, you know, other type of dimension. And we just thought it was fascinating.
What is your scariest nightmare?
My scariest... So I had this really crazy dream once. I was working loss prevention in Sears. I was sitting in my office, kind of like bored. It was late at night. I was really tired. I had a long work week. And I fell asleep. So all of a sudden, I dozed off. And then all I remember is I started falling. But it was darkness. Pure darkness around me. I didn't see anything. And as I was falling, it literally felt like I jumped out of an airplane and I was just free falling. And then all of a sudden I just remember, like, it felt like I almost stopped. Like I started slowing down near the bottom and then I just floated here. So here's the bottom, here's my body, I'm floating across. But the weird part was I couldn't talk. My voice was taken away from me. I couldn't say anything. All these arms started grabbing at my arms, at my legs, and just ripping my skin. It felt like they were ripping apart my skin. And I just remember thinking in the back of my mind, like, my grandma always told me when I was young that if anything supernatural happens, you just call to Jesus and he'll help you and blah, blah, blah. So that was the first thing that popped in my mind in my dream was I'm just gonna, you know, be like, Jesus help me, like something bad's happening. So I kind of prayed at the same time and I was like, God help me. And I just remember waking up immediately as soon as I said those words. And it was weird. It was a surreal dream. It was like I fell to hell. And these hands were just grabbing at me, all these people that were in hell. They were ripping me apart and literally trying to rip my fucking hands and my legs from the limbs. Like, it was crazy. And it was very surreal. It was one of those dreams where, like, it seemed more real than fake. You know what I mean? It was one of those dreams that you felt like you were never gonna wake up from. And when your voice is taken away and you can't scream, you could just hear your own thoughts. That's what was happening in that dream. I could not scream. I could just hear my own thoughts. So it was like my voice was totally taken away. These arms were ripping me apart and I was in pure and utter darkness. So it was really creepy. And it was the creepiest dream that I've ever had, still to this day. Back to Ashley.
Yeah, so that's it for the tag questions, but I was just wondering if you have just any other stories you wanted to
I
add.
have a couple of really crazy near-death experiences that I've had. I want to tell you one in particular because it's probably the best story. I nearly died. So anyways.
I hate these stories. He has like a million of them. Every time we talk, it's like, hey, I almost died last week. And I'm like, oh, cool.
That is true. So, we were in a car with a couple friends and we were driving down the highway past the Terry Fox Monument. He's like Canadian Idol, yo. He's like my idol. Don't fuck with Terry Fox, yo. Okay, so I'm in my car and I'm driving down and I'm probably doing a $140 or $150. I was going pretty fast. And we're kind of like, you know, when you get hit one of those winding roads and you get the sign, the winding roads. Well, we're going around a corner And just as we're going around this corner, my buddy thought it'd be a wise idea to shift it into 4th gear. We're going around the corner. He decides to shift, and I'm literally, the car just goes right off the road, right onto the corner edge, right where the gravel is, and there's a bunch of rocks just coming down. Like, we're talking like a whole shit ton of rocks. The car just starts doing this bouncy thing where it's like boom, 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 boom. Because I'm in the front seat, right? So I'm seeing everything that's happening. And literally, my front hood, because it's level, right? All of a sudden you have a level hood, and all of a sudden it starts going doosh, 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 doosh. And the tires are doing this, but it's not just the tires, it's literally the hood that's going like this. So it's literally bouncing around on the side of the road. I thought the whole car was going to flip and either land on its side or its back or something. But instead, the car picks up by itself. I don't even, still to this day, don't know how it happened. We weren't high on anything. I wasn't tripping out. I wasn't on shrooms or anything. I wasn't hallucinating. So let me get that out there. Literally, this car picked up off the ground, slammed back down on the middle of the highway, and was in a straight line again in a matter of seconds. So it went from bouncing like this to jumping up in the air practically and moving itself over, and then boom, back perfectly on the road. I don't know if it was a miracle or what happened, or angels or fucking aliens came down and fucking picked up my car and put it perfectly back on the highway. But I just remember looking over at the guy next to me and the people in the back seat and just thinking, like, what the fuck just happened? That was intense. So that was my near-death experience.
That's crazy. Was there any other story that anything else? Like...
Craziest drug experience.
No.
Okay.
What about paranormal?
Yeah. Well, this is kind of paranormal because at the time I was tripping out and I thought I was seeing things that were paranormal. So it's kind of along those lines. Craziest drug story ever, and this is me not thinking I'm doing hallucinogens and end up doing hallucinogens. I'm sitting at PACI at school. I was maybe 18 years old. I was just sitting there, wasn't drunk, nothing, just hanging out with my friends. It was late at night, probably around 11:30. These kids would come walking through, and they're like, "Hey dude, you want to smoke a joint with us?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure dude, let's do this." So we smoke a joint. Next thing you know, I start feeling really funny. I'm like, that's some weird weed, man. Like, I never smoked that type of weed in my life. And next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, we gotta go. We gotta take off." And they just left. Like, they just pieced right the fuck out. I think they knew what was in the weed, but they didn't tell me. They just probably sat from afar behind a tree or something and watched me trip out and laughed about it. Pretty sure that's what they did, because that's probably what I would have done. So later on, I kind of searched it, Googled it, what could be put in weed to make you hallucinate that bad. And it turned out the only thing that I could really find was PCP. So I smoked an entire joint with PCP in it without knowing. Next thing you know, the clouds started changing colors, the trees were changing colors, I didn't know my name, I didn't know where I was, and I lived in that town my whole life. City, sorry. But anyways, all I could think about at the time was, where the fuck am I getting some water? Because I was getting mad pasties, and I did not know, and I was tripping out. I didn't know who I was, where I was, what my name was. All I was thinking about was water. But on my way, I knew how to get to the marina somehow. I was like, there's a big lake over there, and I'm gonna go to the lake. Instead of going, like Subway or, like a bar on the way and getting some water, didn't really occur to me at the time. I was just thinking, I want to get to the lake. I'm going to get some water at the lake. So I go down to the lake.
Which is right downtown.
So
it's not, yeah.
So it was like literally a 5-minute walk from where I was. So I walked down to the waterfront and I'm standing there. And next thing you know, these gigantic spiders start crawling out of the water where I'm trying to drink from. And these spiders look like they're bigger than dock spiders, tarantulas put together. These motherfuckers are big. Like, we're big spiders. Anyways, So they were trying to eat me. I didn't want water at that point. I was backing off. I was like, the water's not worth it. Gigantic fucking spiders coming out of the water, gonna eat me, drag my carcass into the fucking water and eat me under the water.
Water's not worth it.
Water not worth it. So I run to the nearest playground and I'm thinking, I'm gonna take shelter in here, I'm gonna hide in here. I'm in the tunnel in the park, and there's a roundabout. There's a bridge that goes into the marina where I was. And there were still cars going in there late at night. And I thought it was an alien spacecraft. I thought aliens were gonna kill me. So not only did I think the spiders were after me, the big spiders that are trying to pull me into the water, but also I had the aliens that were gonna abduct me and do weird things to my body. So who knows what they could have done. I just wanted to avoid them altogether.
Yeah.
So my big bright idea was, okay, well they know where I am now because they keep circling around with the light, because the light being the fucking high beams of cars, and I was tripping the fuck out in PCP at the time. So I took off from the fucking child structure and ran into one of those outhouse stalls. And I hid in there and locked the door. And I fell asleep in there on the floor of the outhouse stall. And I remember waking up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, like, why the fuck am I in an outhouse stall? Had no recollection to what happened to me.
We've
and
all
I
been
just
there.
woke up in an outhouse stall, walked out, and I was at the marina. And some asshole was scratching his balls waiting to get in there. So, yeah, it was a scary fucking experience. And 4 hours later, I finally get all these crazy memories popping into my head. Okay, yeah, that's making sense now. I'm Google searching PCP. I'm like, oh, okay, it all makes sense. So that's a crazy drug experience. Without doing drugs knowingly. So that's a lesson learned, kids. Because it wasn't like I planned this night of this crazy journey. I just got sucked into it. So don't take random joints from strangers. Lesson number 1.
Haven't heard that one before. He's like crossing the office. Yeah.
Have a creepy night.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here.
No problemo.
My childhood fears. Subscribe to my channel, but I'm bizarre.
Thanks for watching.
This is your universe is